This is a wedding statement, this next verse. You shall be my people and I will be your God. The statement is, you will be mine and I will be yours. It's a wedding statement. What do you learn about God when he talks about his people like this? He desires intimacy with you. He desires intimacy with you. We read on the next couple of verses. Verse 23, behold, the storm of the Lord, wrath has gone forth, a whirling tempest. It will burst upon the head of the wicked. And this might seem like out of character. Hang on, we're talking about compassion, fruitfulness, thanksgiving, worship. Where did whirling tempests come from bursting on the heads of the wicked? What's the context here? And the next verse is going to help us to understand that. And we want to make this point that sometimes life only makes sense when we look back on it. When you're going through it at the time, sometimes it doesn't make sense. But as you come out the other side and you can look back on it and go, thank God. I've heard so many people say that this horrible thing that they went through at the time, they did not want to go through it. And years later, they say, I'm so thankful to God I went through that. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. Wow. So, the next time you're going through storms of tempest whirling in your head, bursting your head, don't despair. Hang on. It's not over yet. Now, there is another point here. We've been introduced to a character called the prince. This prince will be invited to be a priest. That's irregular. A royal priest. Who could that be? It can only be Jesus. And then the next verse says, judgment will come on the wicked. Guess what? The royal priest, Jesus, has suffered the penalty of sin that the wicked deserve. And guess who the wicked are? You're looking at one right now. The next verse. The fierce anger of the Lord will not turn back until he has executed and accomplished the intentions of his mind. In the latter days, you will understand this. And we're in the latter days, and we now look back and we can see what Jesus has done. And we can see that it was the prince, the one who was called to be a prince priest, a royal priest. It was God's plan for God to send him, and he would die for the wicked. So God's plan and purpose was to save. But it involves people. See, it says he came out from one of us. Jesus was born a man. He is one of us. As the palace, the place where the king dwells. And we read in 1 Corinthians that the house of God, the palace of God, is the church. God's plan and purpose for you involves being a part of the established congregation. The established congregation, not the rabble, not the crowd. We're not trying to build a crowd. We're trying to be a congregation, an established congregation. And God's plan and purpose for you is to be a part of that, to experience the love of a leader, someone who can speak leadership love into your life. Here's the question. Have you surrendered to God's good purpose for your life? If sometimes God's purpose doesn't look good, have you surrendered to it? This is the question. Here's a great thought. Because these people had gone so far from God. They were sacrificing their children. They were in idolatry. They were committing rampant immorality. How far is that from God? That's like as far as you can get. And yet God says, I'll restore you. I'll have compassion on you. What does that tell us about God? No matter how far you've run or how closed you've become, you're only one step away from God. One step. Isn't that amazing? You could run so far and you're only one step away. And it's that step that's taken not with your feet, but with your heart. The interesting thing is In verse 21, the Hebrew word where it says, I will make him draw near, he shall approach me. For who would dare of himself to approach me? The Hebrew word of himself is heart. Heart. In other words, who would have the kind of heart to do that for others? That's the question the prophet asks. Declares the Lord, it says. And we know it was Jesus. Jesus Christ is the Prince and the Priest who gave his heart for you.